Good evening, everyone. How are you? An innocent enough question, right? Now, your stock answer might be, I'm fine. And that was always mine, no matter what I was feeling. Now, a few years ago, I was feeling anything but fine. But I had no idea how I could tell anyone. A prolonged period of stress at work, coupled with a myriad of other pretty stressful things, meant that I was suffering from crushing anxiety, and I could barely get out of bed in the morning. It really was scary and painful and quite confusing time for me. But there's a quote that the lowest ebb is often a sign of the changing tide, and I've been following those tides of change these last 4 years, looking to try to answer that question, how are you, with a lot more openness and honesty, looking to stay in touch with those emotions. Now, I was talking to my sister recently about the journey that I'd been on, describing where I'd been at that lowest ebb and where I was now. And I explained that I was feeling good, feeling a lot more grounded in myself, but I was still feeling, I guess, a little bit uncomfortable, a bit vulnerable. And I wondered if it was a bit of a hangover. Maybe I was still a bit bruised from going through such an intense experience. And my sister, who's a doctor of biology, she said, you know what you're going through sounds a lot like the hermit crab, which wasn't the answer I was expecting. Now, she went on to explain that hermit crabs live in shells, much like this one here. But they don't stay in that same one shell for their whole lives. They'll change multiple shells throughout their lifespan. Now, when a crab reaches a certain size, the physical stress and pressure that crab experiences, that acts as the trigger that lets it know that it's ready to go on and change its shell. But the process of changing that shell, it's actually where it's quite vulnerable. It's vulnerable to predators, and it can even dry out if it's on land without a shell for too long. So my sister said, that sounds like you. That sounds like the process you've gone through. You know, I'd bust out of my shell rather unceremoniously those 4 years ago, and once I'd found my feet, or found my claws, that I was now trying to seek out my new shell. And she said, that might be why you're feeling a bit vulnerable. And if you are, it's okay, because I've got you. I'll hold you. I'll be there with you until you found your shell. Now, this made me realize just how important it is in life to surround yourself with people who will lift you up, who will be there to support you through periods of transition, particularly if you're feeling vulnerable. It's also equally important to recognize those people that may hold you back. And it could be because they may have the best intentions. It may be that the path ahead is fraught with uncertainty, that it's not easy, that it's going to be challenging. But actually, if you're going to grow healthily, either as a crab or as a human, that's the path you're going to have to follow. So if there's 3 things I'd like you to take away today, it's these. 1, the question, how are you? Don't be afraid to answer that honestly. And if the answer is, I'm not okay, then don't hide from that reality, certainly not for too long. 2, recognize that periods of stress or feeling vulnerable or uncomfortable, those can be used for catalysts as positive change, which is certainly the way I'm trying to view things now. And 3, look to identify those people in your life who will be there to support you through those periods of change, so that, like our friend the hermit crab, you too can change shells. Thank you.